Hello kids! Welcome to our class. We will be having storytelling for today. Are you all ready? Okay, all of you looks ready. Before we will start our day with a welcome song. Let's stand up and let's dance and sing.
It's me who builds community. 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 La la la. Roll over the ocean, roll over the sea, roll over the ocean in the deep blue sea. Roll over the ocean, roll over the sea. Go and do your part and build community. It's you who builds 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 community. La la la. Roll over the ocean, roll over the sea, roll over the ocean in the deep blue sea. Roll over the ocean, roll over the sea. Go and do your part and build community. It's us who builds 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 community. La la la. Roll over the ocean, roll over the sea, roll over the ocean in the deep blue sea. Roll over the ocean, roll over the sea. Go and do your part and build community. See, it's us who builds community. It's me, it's you, it's us who builds community. It's me, it's you, it's us who builds community. It's us who builds community. La la la. Roll over the ocean, roll over the sea, roll over the ocean in the deep blue sea. Roll over the ocean, roll over the sea. Go and do your part and build community.
Job well done, kids! The title of our story for today is Footnote to Youth by Jose Garcia Villa. So what this is story all about? So let's come and see what is this story about.
The sun was solemn and hazy in the west. Dodong was thinking of telling his father about his plan to marry Tiang when he get home. He unhitched the carabao from the plow to its shed and fed it. He was hesitant, but he wanted his father to know. Dodong finally decided to tell him. Although his father might refuse, I will tell him. Dodong wanted to marry, however, he was only 17. He had pimples on his face, and the down on his upper lip was already dark. He was growing into a man. No, he was already a man. Dodong stumbled upon a creek on his way home. As he was walking, he thought of Tiang, his girl. She had a small brown face, small black eyes, and glossy hair. She was a dream girl to him. It was dusk when he reached home. His family already set the table. They all sat on the ground and ate fish and rice. Dodong was still thinking about how he would tell his father. Dodong's mother went out to wash the dishes, while his father remained in the room, sucking a diseased tooth. Dodong knew he had to tell him, I am going to marry Tiang. His father looked at him silently and stopped sucking the broken tooth.
The silence became more intense and cruel, and Dodong wished his father would just suck that troublesome tooth again. His father was just looking at him without saying anything. I will marry Thiang. I will marry Thiang. His father just kept gazing at him. Silently, Dodong fidgeted on his seat. I asked her last night to marry me, and she said, "Yes, I want your permission. I want it." You are very young, Dodong. I'm 17. That's very young to get married at. I want to marry. Thiang's a good girl. Tell your mother, Dodong. You will let me marry Thiang? Son, if that is your wish, of course. Dodong stood in the sweltering noon heat, sweating profusely. He was as still as a tree and his thoughts were confused. Thiang was giving birth to their first child. Dodong was hearing Thiang's screams that chilled his blood.
He didn't want her to scream like that. He figured that in a few moments he would be a father. Father, father. I will be a father. He was young. He realized now. Come up, Dodong. It's over. Dodong suddenly felt embarrassed as he looked at her. He dropped his eyes and pretended to dust dirt off his shirts. Dodong! 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 It's a boy. Dodong felt more embarrassed and did not move. His parents' eyes seemed to pierce through him, and he felt limp. He wanted to hide and run away. Dodong, you come up. You come up. Dodong did not want to come up and stayed in the sun. Dodong, Dodong, I'll come up. Thiang was sound asleep on the papag with her black hair around her face. Dodong wanted to touch her, but he felt that feeling of embarrassment once again. He heard a thin voice, and it pierced him clearly. He was happy. He gave him to me. You gave him to me.
Blas was not Dodong's only child. Many more children came. For 6 years, a new child came along. Dodong didn't want any more children, but they came. It seemed like it could not help. Dodong got angry with himself sometimes. Thiang did not complain, but bearing of child told on her. She was shapeless and thin, now even if she was young. There was so much more to be done. Cooking, laundering, the house, the children. She cried sometimes, wishing she had not married. Although she did not tell Dodong this, not wishing him to dislike her. One night, as Dodong lay beside his wife, he rose and went out of the house. He stood in the moonlight, tired and furiously. He was wondering why life did not fulfill all of youth's dream. Why it was forsaken after love. Dodong would not find the answer. Maybe the question was not to be answered.
It must be so to make youth. Youth must be dreamfully sweet. Dodong returned to the house humiliated by himself. When Blas was 18, he came home one night very flustered and happy. It was late night and Dodong heard Blas steps. Blas, you better go to sleep. It is late. Itay, yes, anak. I'm going to marry Tuna. She accepted me tonight. I leave Tuna and I want her. You want to marry Tuna? Have you already made up your mind?
want to marry Tona. You have any objections, Itay? Blas said. Dudong answered, Son, none. Deep inside, Dudong didn't want Blas to marry at such young age. However, he was helpless. He could not do anything. Youth must triumph. Now, love must triumph. Now afterwards, it will life. As long ago, youth and love did triumph for Dudong. And then life. Dudong looked wistfully at his young son in the moonlight. He felt extremely sad and sorry for him.
And now, kids, we will be having our activity. Let's hunt the places of the story using the map. Our map will be called Footnote map. The first route was the mountain. The sun was salmon and hazy in the west. The next route was in the trees. Dudong was thinking of telling his father about his plan to marry Taeyang. At first, he was hesitant, but Dudong finally decided to tell his father, although his father might refuse. The next route was in the creek. As he was walking, he thought about Taeyang, his girl. Taeyang had a small brown face, small black eyes, and a glossy hair. She was a dream girl to him. The next stop was the house of Dudong's family. It was dusk when he reached home. While eating, Dudong was still thinking about how he would tell his father. When the mother went out to wash the dishes, Dudong knew that he had to tell his father, I am going to marry Taeyang. His father looked at him silently. He was just looking at Dudong without saying anything. Dudong said, I want your permission. I want it. And the father said, You are very young, Dudong. That's very young to get married at. But Dudong repeatedly saying that I want to marry Taeyang. Taeyang's a good girl. Dudong's father allowed his son to get married. A few years later, the next route on Dudong's house, Taeyang was giving birth to their first child. Dudong was hearing Taeyang scream, the child his blood. He figured that in a few moments he would be a father. Then he realized that he was young. The mother of Dudong called him to come up. Dudong, come up. It is over. Then Dudong suddenly felt embarrassed as he looked at his mother, and the father said, Dudong, it is a boy. Dudong felt more embarrassed and did not move as he wanted to hide and run away. And our next route was in the bedroom. As he came up, he heard a thin voice and it pierced him cruelly. He was happy and he said, You give him to me. You give him to me. The next route was their family picture. Blas was not Dudong's only child. Many more came. For 6 years, a new child came along. Dudong did not want any more, but children, they came. Dudong got angry with himself sometimes. Our next stop was in the sala. Taeyang was having a breakdown. She cried sometimes, wishing she had not married. The next route is in the outside of the house. One night, Dudong went out. He stood in the moonlight, tired and querulous. He was wondering why life did not fulfill all of youth's dreams, why it was forsaken after love. Dudong would not find the answer. Maybe the question was not be answered. Dudong returned to the house, humiliated by himself. The next route, when Blast came home very flustered and happy, he said, Itay, I am going to marry Tona. She accepted me tonight. I love Tona and I want her. Our last stop when Blas and Dudong talk about marriage. Dudong said, You want to marry Tona? Have you already made up your mind? Blas said, I will marry Tona. You have any objection, Itay? And Dodong said, Son, none. Dodong looked wistfully at his young son in the moonlight, as he felt extremely sad and felt sorry for him.
Characters of the story. Dodong, the main character. The father, mother, Thiang, Dodong's wife. Lucio, Blas, son of Thiang and Dodong.
The plot of the story is Dodong wanted to marry Thiang and asked his father's permission, thinking that he is not young anymore. His father allowed them to get married. After 9 months, Thiang gave birth to a child named Blas. For 6 consecutive years, a new child came along. Dodong asked so many questions of himself that remained unanswered. He felt embarrassed and guilty. Thiang did not complain. Even, she secretly regretted being married at an early age. Sometimes, she even wondered if she would have the same life if Lucio, her other suitor who was 9 years older than Dodong, was the one she married. Lucio has no children since the time he married. When Blas was 18, he told his father that he would marry Tona. Dodong did not object, but tried to make Blas think twice before rushing to marriage, because Dodong doesn't want Blas to end up like him.
And now we are here on the relevance of the story in American period. So what is the relevance of the story in American period? Did anyone knows the answer? Okay, since no one knows the answer, teacher will say the answer. So the author of the story was Jose Garcia Villa, a Filipino poet, critic, short story writer, and painter, which is an important person to recognize during the Filipino-American history. So Jose Garcia Villa is one of the important persons during the American history. The story were published on the 20th to 21st century. The literary movement of Jose Garcia is all about modernism, which connects to the lesson of the story, which is about marriage. Marriage is something that is taken seriously, so we cannot deny the fact that we can see young people marry in such a young age. Okay, we are here to our local color of the day. Are you all ready to know our local color of the day? Okay, so our color of the day is colorless or transparent. So teacher, why it is colorless or transparent? Is it because based on our story, the colorless symbolizes to Dodong, which is our main character of the story? Very good. So the colorless symbolizes as a blind choices of his life, which is nonsense life decisions. In short, it is nonsense. Okay. Well done, kids.